right. I think I'm live. Can someone say something in the chat and make sure I'm not going crazy? Oh, I'm talking to myself. No, someone else is logged into Fairwinds too. Cool. So this is going to be the first time. Wow, everybody's logged into Fairwinds. Cool. This is the first live coding session, so maybe a little rough around the edges, but we'll see how it goes. And today I'm going to work a little bit on Reckoner. Um, and to give a little bit of a rundown on what Reckoner is, it is a wrapper around Helm basically to allow you to manage all your Helm installs in one file. It doesn't have to be in one file, but generally that's how we do it. So if we look at the documentation here, in general, you'll have a course file that has some like metadata information at the top, but then the main meat of it is this charts section that lists all the things you want to install, the namespace you want them to go in, and then the thing that kind of brings Helm in is the values, and these are just simply the overrides you would put in when installing a Helm chart. So instead of running Helm install and passing in a different YAML file for every chart you want to install, you put all your values in here, and you can run a Reckoner command instead, which then in turn calls the Helm binary on your machine. So uh, the thing I'm going to be working on today, though, is the Go version. So traditionally, or historically maybe, this was written in Python, and Python's great. I like writing Python, but it is a little bit more difficult to release an artifact to people because it's not being um, it's not a binary, it's not a compiled binary, so different people's machines may react differently in the Python world, which is kind of a common problem. But so we started this rewrite. There's been a lot of work done on it so far, but today we're going to look at one issue to implement Git Repository Management. So what that means is we'll go over here to the documentation. We expect to be able to give a chart repository like this, which is not something that I don't think Helm does this by default. Um, Traditionally, you would say a repository, and it's like an HTTP endpoint that has an index.yaml served on the internet that kind of lets you download these tarballs and it unpacks it and then installs it. We wanted to be able to give people a little bit more flexibility. This is good for like development, and maybe if you just store your charts like this, you don't necessarily need to have a web server running with an index.yaml. You don't have to worry about packaging stuff up all this special way. So let's go take a look at our charts repository. So this is our Fairwinds ops repository, and if we go into stable, we could, in theory, or not in theory, but in the Python version currently, you can do this at the top, and then reference Fairwinds stable down in your charts, like so, and it should pull down the charts, figure out that that's the path your current chart is. So the chart here being Polaris. So if we go to chart stable, we see Polaris is in there, and that's how Reckoner should figure out where that is. So we're trying to implement that in Go. It's just not done at all currently. And the way we'll measure success is, you'll notice we have a lot of tests failing, and this is expected right now because the Go version is not actually released, only the Python version. So some of these tests do Git-based pulls, and those should start to succeed once we finish this up. So yeah, feel free to drop anything in chat and I'll try to reply as fast as I can. And when I start coding, I'll try to talk through things as I'm going because normally I would just sit here and stare in silence and, try and figure stuff out. But hopefully I'll keep a little bit of entertainment value when I get stuck. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to just showing VS Code. We can switch back to the browser if we need to. And also drop in chat if I go down one size, let me know if that's too small. Okay. Yeah, and thanks, Andy. Andy mentioned in chat he's happy to answer questions too, in case I am just like not paying attention as well. So first we'll take a look here. I have done a little bit of studying of the Python code because it's been a while since I've had to look at it. I did not write any of this originally. I have written some of the Go stuff, but a lot of it was also done by a few other folks at Fairwinds. So let's dive right in. Oh, and also on my personal calendar, this is scheduled to go for about an hour, so 12 Eastern, but it's not a hard stop. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll keep chugging along if it feels good at 12. So okay, so in Python, the Python version, we have this repository class, uh, and the important part we're looking at here is this install thing. So in the install method, let's search in here. So we have fetch from Git. Now we see if I was just basically when I first started looking at this code, I was just searching for Git and like, okay, how do we do the Git stuff? And what we do is so right here, if self Git is none, so that means it's not a Git repository, do the normal thing. It's just like the repository and then the chart name, which is how you would normally do Helm install, right? So you would do like Helm install Fairwinds stable as the repository, Polaris, uh, and then you would maybe name it Polaris. So that's essentially what this is doing is saying chart path should just be this. Now, with the Git version, what we do is a Git sparse checkout. So we only check out the specific path we want. I think, so I'm making a guess here that this was originally done this way because, um, Helm traditionally had that huge, like, public repository where everyone put charts. You could still have your own chart repository, that was still possible, but a lot of the big Helm charts that people used would be in this big monolithic repository. So I think we do a sparse checkout here because of that, and we just don't want to have to pull down all this data every single time. You only want to pull down what you need. So sparse checkout would basically say at this chart repository, this Git repository rather, only pull down this specific path there. Don't pull down everything. So that's what's happening down here in this fetch from Git. So the interesting thing too is it clones it in this Helm client cache object here. So that's a path in on your file system. So if you were to run Helm env, it's essentially cloning this repository in this repository cache location. Helm doesn't know what to do with that there if it's not a real repository. So when I say real, let's just go look. So ls shell in there. See, most of the time you'll get specific chart version tarballs in there. And you may also have, rancher latest index.yaml. So all your repos will probably have this index.yaml and charts.txt. And you don't get that when we do this kind of Git checkout. Now, if I can find it, here's an example of pulling down a Git repository with Reckoner. So this is not a Helm thing. This is a directory that we have pulled down via Reckoner's Git whatnot. So if we go look in there, see stable Goldilocks. So we have clearly used the Git checkout for Goldilocks at some point. Now if we go in here, this should be a Git repository. And you can see we've checked it out. Log. So I guess that might actually be pulled down at master potentially. Now if we go back here, okay, that's not a Git repository. Interesting. Oh, it is pulled down at master there. Okay, well, we can see here the path it gives is in the cache, and then it says, give me the Git address you have in your course file. So let's take a look at what this looks like in a course file, first and foremost. So it would look like right here. So it doesn't seem to attach the Git. I'm not sure where that actually comes from, that underscore Git at the end of that directory. But this fancy regex here is just a simple thing that basically says if you have a colon or slash of some sort or a dot, so any of the slashes, a double slash or a dot, it replaces it with an underscore, which is kind of what we can see here. HTTPS, the colon slash slash is what this part is, and then any other slash, and then a dot. I realize I'm looking really close, so my camera, you're just seeing my hair, but I'll try and scoot back. Maybe I should make the text bigger. Okay, so ideally it should be in this one when we're pulling down from Git. Yeah, I'm not sure where this path came from with the underscore Git. All right, so in this Python code, you can see we are figuring out the path. When do we do this fetch pull? Because this is where it actually pulls it down. Try fetch pull version. Okay, so this is if we give it a reference of a tag. If you don't give it a tag, I want to say version defaults to master if you don't give it anything. Let's see. So it makes the path here. That's important. It creates this file, I think. This is just setting up the string for the sparse checkout file. Okay, then we're creating the .git directory in the repo path. We're saying init, so this is in the Git Python package. Presumably that's a third party just to interact with Git. This says this is a hack. If Git info isn't there, then make it. Okay. And then we're saying repo equals Git. So that's some sort of class, I guess, from the Git package. Checkout file path. I'm not super clear why this is in there twice. Maybe that's a bug. Or not a bug, but it's just duplicated code. That's what I think anyway. Okay, so and then here, Path in the list of files, but the chart is not the root of Git repository. Chart. Okay, so this is setting up the path after you pull it down. So if we have to do a sparse checkout, we need to know what path to pull down. So it looks like we're saying chart self path chart name. So self path is coming from here, from your course YAML. So this is basically saying this, but you can't put that in the Git line because this has to be like the Git repo, and you can't give a when you do a clone, you can't give like a subpath of the Git repo. So that's why this is in here like this. So we're opening up the sparse checkout path, and we're writing the chart path into there. So that's basically telling Git, when you do a clone, just pull down that directory. Cool, so we made it this far. Now we need to reproduce this in Go eventually, so we'll talk about that soon, but I thought it'd be helpful to review what the Python code is actually doing. Okay, so there's some logging. The full chart path now is giving, this is the repo path, remember, is wherever your Helm cache is. So Helm cache is this part of the path, so that's what this repo path is. Self path, actually, sorry, I may be slightly off there. Repo path variable actually is all of this. So it's checking out into this path. And where was I? And then self path is once again coming from here, so stable. So that will get thrown in here. And then the chart name, which chart name will come from one of these here. So this actually. So one quick aside about Reckoner, the old version, and Reckoner, the new version. We've decided to recreate kind of the schema of what the course file should look like. And one of those things is that charts is actually misnamed. It should be releases because a chart and release are different. If you're not familiar with Helm, the chart is kind of like the blueprint, and the release is the concrete deployment of that blueprint somewhere. So this list is actually this name here is a release name. So you can name this whatever you want. I could actually duplicate this and say, now you can't have, I mean, this is just a YAML thing. You can't have the same key name here. But if we do metric server other, so this is the new release name with all the exact same, now I might want to put it in a different namespace, but so this just to illustrate that you can release the same chart multiple times in a Reckoner file. And in our new schema, this key is actually going to be releases, not charts. There's actually a nice, let me get back to my Reckoner place. So right now we have the Go version. We have a make file for building the Go version. If I build that locally, we have a new command called convert, and that will take a course file and convert it to the new schema, which let's just try it real quick. So this, did I change some? Oh yeah, I added metric server other. So we can see Reckoner goes here in my path. Do convert. Now this course file is actually in my home temp directory, and by default it'll just output it to standard out. So if we look now, we see releases, and it's also a true list because that's actually way easier to work with, especially in Go, but maybe just in general. And we, instead of having a map here, we have a true list where the name is going to be the name of the release, chart is still the chart, And yeah, that's pretty much the convert. And this is what it would look like in version 2. So releases is a little more a proper name. You can see everything else is kind of the same, and we add this schema v2 at the top. Now, you don't if you're a user of Reckoner and we release the Go version and you want to start using it, you don't have to do this right away. In the Go code, it will parse an old version and convert it in memory, and then do the same thing you would expect it to do, even in the old schema. And you'll get this nice warning, and it will tell you what you can do to convert it more permanently. So yeah, that's kind of a lengthy little aside there, but I think it's worthwhile to talk about how we're hopefully improving the readability and actually name things properly. Uh, cool. Let me look here. Sorry, I have my YouTube stuff on a different screen. So, all right, I think we have enough to kind of start at least with the Git pull part or the Git clone part in Go. So now I'm going to have to refamiliarize myself a bit with some of the Go stuff. I've looked at it this morning, but probably not enough. Okay, so making a switch over to Go now. So I'll close this Python code for now. And again, feel free to ask any questions in chat. Um, I'll do my best to answer. So all the Python code is under the Reckoner directory here in our Git repo. The Go stuff is we try to follow a pattern that we, at least at Fairwinds, have developed where we have a main Go file that's fairly small. We use Cobra to initialize like the command stuff. So the command line things are kind of all managed by Cobra. We have a whole bunch of stuff in here. We're not necessarily going to mess with that today, I don't think. We might, but a lot of it's already kind of doing what it needs to do. We just need to modify some of these packages. So the Pkg directory is another pattern we have in our Go projects, where we try to have different domains. So each package should be its own little domain. So we have a Helm package for interacting with Helm. So Reckoner in Python and Reckoner in Go both just call out to a Helm binary on your local machine. We do this for a couple of reasons. It lets the user continue to manage their version of Helm that they want to use. We don't support Helm 2 anymore. That used to be a thing, but that's removed. And we're not going to support Helm 2 in the Go version, but that's basically what this package does. The course file is what parses and reads the course file, unsurprisingly, which you maybe could argue could be a Reckoner, but also everything could probably go in Reckoner. I mean, based on the name. But this is kind of where we implement the actual commands. So plot is the actual like install command. So if we do Reckoner, oh yeah, it's Reckoner go help. The commands are basically plot. Template is kind of basically the same as Helm template, except it'll template out all of your releases in one big output. Update will do a diff of whatever releases you tell it to, and if there are changes expected, it'll then do an update or an upgrade in Helm speak. And then diff will just output what is a diff in your cluster. So I have a kind cluster right now. J. There are no Helm releases, and it's just a bare kind cluster. So if I was to do a Reckoner diff on a course file, it would say, I need to create all these things. But So let's go ahead and I actually don't have anything from our Git repo right now, so let's add something. So I'm going to switch over to my desktop view. All right, so what should we install? I think we can install VPA pretty easily. So let's see what values we want here. We'll go into our course YAML. Just to get the basic layout, I'll copy this again. We'll say VPA, chart, VPA, repository is going to be Fairwinds stable Git. Because that's what so we have Fairwinds stable, which we do have an HTTP URL set up, but I set up this secondary one with the -git, which should let us attempt. This is what we're going to work to make happen. We're going to try. All right, let's see what version we can get here. So the tricky thing with version, I think, is that it's going to try and pull a tag, which might not align exactly with. Actually, I don't think we tag this ever because it all gets done in the chart YAML. The versioning is done in the chart YAML. So we'll probably just leave it blank or just put it as master, which I think is what it defaults to. So let's see. I don't think we need to do anything special in the values section. So we're going to say master values. We're just going to leave blank. I guess I could just remove it actually. And I don't want to name, I don't want it to go in that namespace. So let's just see what error we get. I don't even know what error we'll get. It'd be funny if it actually did something. All right, so plot. I got to give it the path to my course file. And then you have to give either -o to say only, and that will say, and then you put like VPA or Redis. So -o means just install this one from my file. You could do -a and it'll try to install everything, but I'm just going to try and do VPA right now. And this is the release name, not the chart name. So even though most of them match up one-to-one, like for instance, I would give metric server other here if I wanted to install this one, not metric server. I could give metric server, but it'll install this one. Okay. So let's see what it says. I'm sure some error should pop up because it doesn't know what to do with a non-git repo. In fact, update Helm repos. Yeah, failed to download. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So I still tried to do something. So another fun thing we should set up probably here in our VS Code. So I use VS Code, and we can configure our debugging. So right now I have go reckoner convert utility test. So this is me doing some testing here. Let's just change this. We'll say go reckoner get stuff. We'll go go plot. I'll put this full path just to be safe. Not sure if the tilde will work. We can leave -v8. And we need to do -o VPA. Okay. So now we have a debugger set up, and how about I'll set debug breakpoint right there. We'll change to our Go Reckoner Get Stuff debugger. And we'll see once we get to this part, it should stop. And we'll see just kind of what our structs and everything look like at this point. Maybe. So, okay, so we got to our breakpoint. It just took a while for the Mac developer tools and stuff to keep going, I think. So we see all these logs because we have V8. We have the logging turned up. And we're at this point, so I can do, how about we just look and see what we have here. Let's see course file repositories. Okay, so we know Fairwinds stable Git is the one we're going to look for. So how about we add this. Oops. Repo name. There's incubator. Alright, so let's remove this one and just say continue. Nope. Let's say continue. And repo name. Aha. Error running Helm Command. Oh wait, this is from Fairwinds incubator. Running Helm Command, not an error. That was our verbose logging. Okay, so now what does, so does repo.url have anything? No, it shouldn't. So it'll go right back to the loop. So it doesn't do any of this stuff. So I'm curious where our error comes in. What error do we get? Failed to download. Let's go look. Let's stop our debugger. Error plotting. Release. That's probably what we're looking for. Okay, so in the plot itself, when it's running Helm install, is when I get the error because it just says I can't find this repo, and that makes sense. That brings us to this point where this line right here, we're going to have to figure out something different because right now it's assuming you're pulling from a Git repo that is repository name and then chart name. We're going to want to make this a path on our local file system, much like the Python version does. Before we get there, though, I guess we need to do the Git stuff here. Okay. For now, we might clean this code up later, but I'm going to go ahead and say if repo.git not equal to law, and then we'll do stuff. And we're going to have to make use of a third-party package, I think. Go, going, Git package. I think we use this somewhere else. So we're going to, I wonder if it has, no, I don't see anything for sparse. So, come on. Just look for clone. Plain clone. Options. So I am learning this as we speak. I have not looked at this package at all. So this is true to life. Okay, so we need to set up probably a repository struct. Okay, we return a repository struct on a clone. Let's look at clone options. Okay. Checkout options. No, well, I didn't find anything when I searched for sparse, so I don't think that's going to be a thing. We're probably going to have to do like we did in the Python version and manually edit that file. Okay, so first things first though, we do need to get the Helm cache, repository cache. So let's see, Helm env, where are we right now? We are in the Reckoner package. Do we have, and we are referencing a Helm client. Okay, so why don't we pop over to Helm, we have a client, and then we want to say, I think we want to do a func here, func reach client, what do we want? Do we want to get any of these? I don't know why we would need to get any other ones, but we can always modify this later if we need to. So for now, we're just going to get a specific one, Helm repository cache. We'll just call it cache. And it's going to return the value of it, so it should be string and error. So we're not doing a get, but we will be doing an exec. So this method on the Helm client that we have here is to run a Helm command essentially. So we set up our arguments. I don't think we need to say Helm. That's implied here. Yeah, Helm executable. And then we pass in our args. So what we'll do, hexec, what does this return? String error. We're not going to return that then. We're going to say, so exec returns the out string, so that's the output, error string, and then I think standard out, standard error. And then there's this error out, standard error. Maybe? Out string, error string, yeah, so those are the first things. Okay, so that's, if we get this, it's probably, that's actually standard error. This is like a go error. Okay, so I'm going to do env. For now, we'll do standard out, standard error, error. It's interesting that it just assumes you're going to put 3 things in here. I think these are just saying you're not using these, you're not using these. Okay. If This so this auto-populate stuff is actually from GitHub Copilot, which is scary accurate sometimes. This is the tricky part because where does this other error come from? I think oh, it just returns the error code. So we don't, it's not super useful actually for us. It's the error string that we really care about, but it's the code blank running blank command blank. Yeah, it's not super helpful, honestly. Um, but is there always going to be an error string if it returned an exit code of not 0? I guess so. Do we need to check for error equals nil? I don't think so. I think we're just going to check for standard error. This is something we can improve upon later. All right, so error running Helm env, and we spit out the error. Now the tricky part is we're trying to parse just this one. So why don't we get here? This is not what we want eventually. Eventually we want to just get down to this because right now it's just going to be a string of all this. And we don't want that. But this is an okay place to start. So where were we in here? Let's just say we're going to run C, Helm, maybe, client. So for people that use VS Code, on your keyboard, if you hit Command and click on any like struct field or a struct type, it'll take you right up to it, which is what I just did. So if I want to go up to view a client, I guess I could just look right here. Also, if you just hover over it, but you can also command click and it pops you right up. There's probably a command, like a hotkey to go back to where I just was, but I don't know what it is, so then I have to go find. Okay, C helm dot cache, and it returns a string and an error. So let's say output error, if error, return error. And then we're going to do output just so we use it for something. Over a breakpoint there, and we'll run our debugger because we want to look and see what all this looks like to make sure we can hack the string together or apart and get this one variable. Oh my gosh, can't believe it's 11:48 already. I probably will go longer than an hour. Don't know. I have a few people still watching. I can't believe we've been going for 45 minutes already. Okay. Did I even run it? Doesn't look like it. Thought I did. We made it to the one that has Git. All right. So we got here. Let's see what standard out looks like. It's just what we expected. So now we need to just parse the Helm repository. Let's take a look at the Python code and see what they do in there. I don't remember. Cache. Ooh. Okay. So we split on new line probably, and then we'll split on the equals and grab the value of the one that is Helm repository cache. All right, so let's think about that. We'll do string out that. Oh, you know what? It's probably strings dot split standard out. Yeah. So what does this return? I need to turn off my debugger so my hover stuff works. Maybe. Oh. So when I save, it should automatically pull in the strings package. It wasn't there before, so that's why I was getting an error. Now it's going to output a list of strings. That's what we want. So we could just do we can do, I think, for line because the first return of a for loop when it's a range is going to be the index. Can I not do it? Oh my gosh, I was starting to type Python code. Okay, there we go. And then the weird, I don't want to do I always try to stay away from doing nested for loops if I can. But I don't know if we're going to be able to not do that. So how about this? Oh, wow. GitHub Copilot is a win. Helm repository cache. So we're basically saying if the string contains this, then return split line. Wow, it got exactly what I wanted. That's so scary. No, we don't want to return standard out. But we have to return something if that doesn't return. So we'll just say blank and an error saying error could not find wow. Okay. I feel like I am just going to be hitting tab for GitHub Copilot. This is not an ad. I don't make money from GitHub, promise. All right. So yeah, let's print output again. Why not? And we'll break there. Go back to our debugger, make sure we're getting that path properly. So it's updating all the Helm repos locally. This is something we could probably do smarter, maybe. I guess I could just hit next. Hey, there we go. It worked. Okay, so now we want cache dir is probably a better name for that variable. We're gonna stop our debugger. And now we need to set up, what are we gonna do here? Oh, you know what? In the Python code, I realize now, because we need to know what chart we're actually pulling to do the sparse checkout, this is not where we want to handle Git repos. So we have to do this some other way. In the individual chart install. So this is not the right place for this. Okay. So, oops. This isn't the right place. Oh, you know what? I could also switch back to VS Code only, even though you could probably see it. Okay. So plot. Interesting to note that we also always do an upgrade. It's just going to have the -- install pass to Helm upgrade. Okay. Where are we going to do this? I think we're going to do it in this for loop. We have to do it before we build Helm because that's where we have to give it the path in the cache directory. We can do it after the hooks. So I feel like it's going to be right here to do Git. This is where we should do the Git stuff. The Git sparse checkout for Git repositories. Okay. So this is good. We need this function to exist so that we can get that later. Close that. Now the problem is, oh no, it's not going to be a problem. All right. For now, let's just copy this over here, even though it's probably not going to work this way. Let's see. So we're going to look at our course file. Releases is a release. Yes. Repository is a string. Now it's always going to be a reference to the repository above. So this is where we build Helm args. Is going to be, yeah, so this is the tricky part because we have to figure out a way to reference the repository. Okay, I think I have an idea. Can close that. We know that's going to work, or it worked so far. I guess we don't always know it's going to work, but okay. So I believe what we need to do is we need to say if c.course file dot repositories slash, oh my god, that's not right, but pretty close. Git is not equal to blank. Oops. That's So basically what I'm saying here is in our, saying we're looping through a release, which is and repository is going to be a string. That string is supposed to reference a repository at the top of the course file. So let's look at a course file again. So here we say repositories bitnami. And up here we should have repositories bitnami. So I'm saying up here, find the repository in the repositories section. And if the Git part is populated, do some stuff here. And this is likely where we're going to say, we're probably going to make a new function for doing a git pull or a git clone, git fetch, whatever we're going to end up doing. Okay, I think I'm starting to get a little bit of an idea of what we're going to be doing here. Now, this is only in the plot area, though. Is this what we want? Let me do update. Let me see. This is the only other place where we might actually run install. Okay, so it runs plot also. That's good. I think plot is where I want to do this. Because the rest of this is kind of just like, oh, is the font small? I'm sorry. Also, one thing you might want to do is if it doesn't default in YouTube to 1080, maybe switch higher if you can. Let me know if this is better though. Sorry. Probably close that too. Yeah, let me know, Daniel, if that looks better. Okay. It probably doesn't matter if we do the cache part here or in a new function. Okay, thanks, Daniel. But what we're going to do is now, let's just make our function here. Func. I don't know if we'll need the client. Okay, we'll need this to be a method on client if we put the cache part down there. Let's just leave it for now, and we can make it not a method if we don't want to later. So we'll say, and this can be an internal method, so we don't need to expose it. Do we put those down at the bottom generally? Looks like it. So down here, where we start our private methods or functions, I will make this not a part of client for now. We'll start simple, and if we have to add it as a method because we need access to other parameters, then I'll change it. But we'll say clone git repository path is a string, and we can return error. I'll just say for now return nil. Move this up here. So what we're just gonna say if error clone Git repository cacher Eric is nil. Kind of laying out some boilerplate now that will likely change because Catcher is not going to get it done. We probably won't do any of the unit testing today because I'm honestly going to have to stop soon. But I don't see any reason why we can't make this a normal thing to live code some stuff. So maybe that can be next time. And that's a good point. I should start to think about how these methods, like, am I going to actually clone? Excuse me. Am I actually going to clone a repo in a test? I don't know. Requires internet connection, and we're going to have to run this in Circle CI. I think we could. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. Now we have to figure out how to parse. So let's say, let's take a look at the Python part again. I'm gonna have to go, excuse me, back here. Let's close my browser, file browser. So we have to check, like, if someone has path as empty, path as root, or path as dot slash. Or none. How does, let me get back to repository. So path omit empty, but it is not a pointer, so it will be, it won't be none or nil. It'll be just an empty string. Okay. We can close that for now. Okay, so now we have to check for the path. If maybe I should do this. Let's say this release repository. Oh, I see. We only do a sparse checkout if there is a path. So if the chart is at the root, we don't do a sparse checkout. That makes it easier. Okay. And we have to set up the chart path. Yeah, okay. Cool. Repository dot path. Oh, this is another good use of, so we use this package a lot, GoFunk, because it has some nice helper functions. We would do func dot contains, and we're going to say release repository dot path. Now, wait. Trunk contains oh, no, 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 I know what we can do. We'll say, yeah, all right, I think I got it now. Contains returns true if an element is present in an iteratee. So element is the second argument. I think that right here we just want to put a slice of string that or slash or dot slash. This is going to be path. So we're saying if the path here is one of these, then we don't need to do a sparse checkout. And so it should be if not. For now, we're not going to do anything. But we're basically replicating this part of the Python code at this point. I do think we need to set up this path in the Git cache, though. And something tells me that maybe, should we put all this in a different function? Because we can just pass along a release, and then we can make this a method, because we'll need access to the client, I think. I think that's what we're going to do. Just checking something on my other screen real quick. Okay. Yeah, I've got some time, so we can keep going for a little bit. Hopefully we can get to actually using the Git package, because I've never done that before. Okay. So this signature is going to change a bit, because we'll probably do the cache dir stuff down here now. So we need to pass in our release. Release pointer and it was what kind? Course.release. Okay. And we already have everything that we need from the client, probably. So I think we can just move all this stuff. We'll do C that Git repository release. And we'll move this stuff I changed. Okay. Because I like to, I think I do like breaking this up into a function. Oh yeah, release repository. Yeah, thanks, Andy. That's basically what I said. Yep. we do want this. So I guess I could do that. I'll remove this to do since that's what we're working on. Okay, so I'll move this down here. Release repository. So now you can get the path. Okay. So now we're at a point where we have to determine this sparse checkout. Oh, we should also just set up the path like we did over here. And we need to get our full path. So our repo path is getting set up as the cache directory plus the name of the Git repo with this regex substituting an underscore for those things. So let's do that. Caster, and I'm going to have to brush back up on the regex package. So let's switch over to show my browser here. So this is a Git, but let's go regexp, sub. Do we have a substitute? Don't know. Let's just go look. Going regex substitute. Let me spell it right. Oh, replace all string. Okay, cool. Let's open that back up and just go back. Replace. Aha. Okay. I need a must compile. So let's do that. P must compile. I'll save so that it pulls in the regexp package up here. Thank you. Okay, so we can pretty much probably copy the oh no, this is RE sub, it's kind of different. So yeah, we'll just do the name bits. Okay. And then let's go back to our docs. Replace all string. Replace all string returns a copy of source. Replacing matches. That's exactly what we want. Okay. So let's go back. Now this should. Oh yeah. Okay. So we'll just do re equals. Now this will just like panic, I think, because it's a must compile. compile or return an error. Maybe we want to do compile and return an error since I think, yeah, we can return an error here. I don't know if we want to panic. Maybe we do, because this is just like hard-coded. It's not like determining regex on the fly. So maybe it's fine because we just want to panic during development. Like this is not going to change. So I think must compile is probably fine. All right, so then we're going to do re replace all string. Our source is going to be release repository .git, and we want to replace with an underscore. And this is going to be our clone path. Coming up with variable names is sometimes really hard, but you want them to be good. They want to make sense. Clone path to me sounds more like the full path. Let's see. Let's do subpath. I don't know if that's better, but and then I think we can remove this and do clone path equals. I'm going to do boom. Ah, bummer. Never mind. I will do that because it gives an error. We'll do this here. You know what? We'll follow along with this naming convention, even though it's more Python-y. Faster subpath. I think that's okay. Okay. So yeah, this is where we're going to start our clone. And then the sparse checkout part is where the path comes in. So that's all fine and good. For now, I'm just going to make this nothing so that I can just say that print path is empty. Because I actually want to run a debugger again. See what problems we have. We can resolve. Oh, we don't care about the Python stuff. If error is, yeah. Will I get here? Yeah, should get there. I only have one breakpoint. All right, let's just see where we're at here. We've written a bit since we last did a debug, and I like to check in every once in a while, see where I'm at. Okay, so cache dir. Oh, that's weird. Why does it look like that? Okay, I'll have to go back and look at that. How about subpath? That looks right. That was the one I really wanted to see. That looks good. So that was our regex taking this. Let's take a look here. Basically taking that and removing changing all these dots and slashes to underscores. And then it should say path is not empty because our path stable. Okay, so we need to go figure out why this is returning as such. So let's start over and go there. Set up a new breakpoint. Actually, if I do it here, let me stop and start over my debugger. So you only want to look here. Okay. So let's say line, Helm Repository cache. Huh. So if I do line let's look here. Oh. Standard out. Okay. So it's just escaping the quotes. I see. We don't necessarily want to do that. So if we just run this like so, it's going to look just like, oh, yeah. Okay, so I think we just need to, do we do another split? What's the prettiest way to do this? I just need to get rid, I think up here in standard out, you just do standard out equals oh wait, can I do dot? No. Okay. Result value equals, and then can we do strings dot trim value like that. Let's stop our debugger. Share returns size of the string with S, all leading and trailing is open for continue to cut that remove. I think that does it. Should I make this single quotes? No. And it returns a string, so put that there. And see if that does it. I guess I should have tested, I could have tested that in the debugger. Apologize if my water gulping was loud. All right, let's try just running this. Hey, that looks good. Cool. I'm gonna remove that breakpoint and just continue. And it should take us to here. And now, cache dir looks right. And if we do this, let's see what we have. Too many arguments. Okay. How do if I do this? Okay. Do I need the call? Yeah. I guess I do need to set this as something and just say I have a clone path, and then just say print line. This is temporary. Nope. Clone path. I'll do this. Okay. Let's start over. And this should just print. I don't need to actually do anything. I wonder what would happen. We can talk about it later. Cool. This is where we want it to go. All this work is to just generate this string, and then we can start doing the git clone. So we'll revisit over here. The sparse checkout stuff plus repo init. Oh, this is nice. It kind of checks to see if it exists already, and then it initializes it and pulls it if it. So if you run this many times, you don't want to have to do a git pull every time, I guess, unless the version changes, maybe. It might still do a pull or clone or checkout, whatever it is. Okay. Still not convinced there needs to be two of these. Doesn't seem to do anything. But we're not going to make any changes to the Python stuff for now. Okay, so this debugger we can stop. It is 12:30 and I need to eat. So I think we might call it here for today. I'm sorry if that's a bummer, but I think this has been fun for me. Hopefully it's been helpful for anyone out there watching. And maybe we'll do this again real soon and I can pick up where I left off. Although, being honest, I'm probably going to work on this not on stream as well. So uh, if you're curious how this ends up, keep an eye on, I'm going to go here to issue 299 on the Reckoner repository. So if you keep an eye on there, eventually there'll be a link to pull request. I may work more on this on a stream if it takes longer than I think, but the Go version of Reckoner itself will take a little time. So potential if we do this again, I'll still be working on the Go version of this, but we'll see when that happens. So thanks everybody for joining, and hope you all have a great day.